Let's talk about UberEATS versus GrubHub and how they can both work together to make sure that you make enough money in the timeline that you are hoping for. So usually when I start off my day, if I'm going to be working with these delivery companies, I will turn on both apps, and it's kind of like the first one that goes off, I'll turn off the other one. I have made the mistake a couple of times of forgetting to turn the other one off, and then all of a sudden you get a call. It's easier every now and then to deny an UberEATS if that happens, but don't deny GrubHub. You'll go to yellow and then you'll quickly go to red, and those are supposed to be, that's like a warning to them that you are having difficulties. I don't know very many people who've been deactivated, but that could be one of the reasons why you could be deactivated, is that you're just not accepting calls enough for them to want to continue the service with you. Always keep in mind, this is your business. So these are some tips that I'm going to give you in order to use two companies at one time. So I think if you didn't watch my other videos, I explained that in UberEATS, the app will go off. You'll hear the typical Uber sound. It's the same for UberEATS as it is for Uber passenger driving. You will hear this sound and you'll either accept or say no thank you. Accepting is always good. Keep in mind, they'll give you the minutes that it's going to take for you to get there, but remember, you're not getting paid for mileage or gas money on any of these delivery companies. So if it's really far, you might want to think about it. If it's not that far, that might be fine, but you just kind of have to make sure you are gauging in your day, is this going to be worth it? Maybe you're not getting anything for about 15 minutes and you're willing to drive 15 minutes. So I would just go ahead and do it just to get going again. But again, I turn both of them on, and then once I get an order, I turn the other one off. If you forget, that's going to be an issue. If I get GrubHub first, sometimes you can work around UberEATS because GrubHub is giving you a timeline that you need to get to the restaurant. And then there's another timeline that you are going to be looking at to make sure that you drop the food off at a sufficient timeline. If there's an issue with that timeline, that's when you want to get on the phone or send a message to the person waiting for the food, just to make sure you don't get a bad rating. UberEATS, now I've just now started doing UberEATS in Las Vegas, and it's kind of the same. A lot of people don't tip. I'm thinking probably the people that work in service industries understand. So I have gotten some tips, but not a lot from everybody. I did get from one person a $10 tip. So I was like, woohoo, that was pretty good. And that was UberEATS. So remember, you're not really going to get a lot of tips from them. So basically, just understand that you're not going to get a lot of tips from UberEATS, but you are going to get paid on the exact mileage that you're doing. So what I will usually do is I will go to the restaurant and then finish that order, park anywhere nearby. Don't try to drive around, just kind of park yourself somewhere, and then turn both apps back on, and then wait again to see which one you get a call from. Again, if you forget to turn it off, hopefully you timed it just right, and it'll be that you'll be able to drop one off and then turn off that app and then continue on to finish or start the order on the other app that you forgot to turn off. When you're done and you've completed both of them, turn it back on. So you're turning them on and then turning one off, turning it back on and then turning the other one off. So this will save you. Trust me, it'll save you. One time I forgot to turn it off and I felt like a chicken with my head cut off running all over the town, and I got pulled away so far on one order that when I did start to do the second order, they had canceled. I don't blame them. They had canceled. And that actually pulled down my rating with Uber Eats because I was really trying to work off the timeline with GrubHub because I could not cancel with GrubHub, and my Uber Eats I would have to say no thank you. And there's an algorithm that you are going to be graded on and rated on, I should say, not graded, but rated on through Uber, and that gives the ranking as well as your drop off. So just keep in mind that when you're doing both of these companies, GrubHub is really going to be requiring you to walk the food to the door for the most part. Uber Eats people tend to meet you outside more often, and I think in a way they feel like if they're meeting you outside, they don't have to tip you. I don't know if that's the reasoning, but I have found that more people with GrubHub stay in their house and I have to go find them, and that's fine. You know, they've tipped me and I want to make sure that I do the best that I can on both of the orders. But I've just found that with Uber Eats, there's not a lot of tipping, and the person's just standing, as you drive by, they're standing outside waiting, and not with GrubHub. So that could be a little bit of the difference of the tips, but it sure does feel appreciated when you do get the tip. So if you are Uber eaters out there, you know, kind of think about that when people are dropping off food to you. We're using our own gas, and that is kind of hard on us, so the tips really do help out. With both of them, you don't need to wear a uniform. Uber Eats won't give you one, but GrubHub will. They'll give you a hat, and then they will also give you some shirts to wear. You don't have to wear them. You are an independent contractor. Just when you go inside, make sure that you let the person know what company you're from, and if they don't go by the name, then you'll have to give them the number of the order. It's pretty straightforward and easy to do. I highly recommend to make money sufficiently throughout the day so that you're not sitting in a parking lot for 30 minutes to an hour waiting, that you do 2 apps, 2 different ones on one phone. You don't have to have 2 different phones. They don't speak to each other. They're not going to know you're doing it. And there's nowhere in your contract. It's just that when you are going to do a block schedule with GrubHub, you're stuck. I mean, you're stuck for like 3 or 4 hours to work for them, which is why I don't do it. I just turn their app on and I get calls, and I go wherever the call tells me to go, and then I just follow the directions. So they're fairly easy. They're a little bit different as far as pay, but just keep that in mind that sometimes if you don't get a tip on the app with GrubHub, the person may pay you in person. And a lot of times that's what happens with Uber Eats too. Sometimes with Uber Eats, the person that you're giving the food to will say, oh, I'll tip you on the app. And a lot of times I haven't seen that. I don't know what happened to it. It went to, you know, the black hole. It's just gone. So I hope that has been helpful. The 2 companies, if you're gonna do like DoorDash and Uber Eats, or DoorDash and GrubHub, they work pretty good together. Just keep in mind the other companies, I've heard from the delivery people that I run into in restaurants, that they have block schedules too. So, you know, again, I don't think that basically, there's a tax classification. If they tell you too much how to do and how to, you know, wear this and you have to sit here and do this for so many hours, you're an employee. And they have to be very careful not to do those things. They can suggest it, but to tell you that you can't do this without wearing that, or, you know, then you're an employee. I just want to add that if you're going to do GrubHub, please be aware that their app has some issues, and I've notified them several times, and they have continued to ignore me. So basically, their app sometimes recognizes you even though you're not even logged in. Or maybe you logged in and you're in an area that's not taking connectivity very well, and so they'll boot you off, but they'll still send you requests for you to accept, but you're not able to accept because you can't log in. So it's kind of a catch-22. That's an issue. There's not much you can do about it, because you will be downgraded for not accepting it no matter what. Even though you couldn't accept it, they say to send a message to support, but it'll never change, so just know that. Another thing is, because they do have some app issues, make sure if you are going to take a little break but you want to keep your app on for calls, make sure if you go into a supermarket or just go anywhere in a store, turn your app off. Because I've had times where I got out of the store and I never heard the GrubHub sound telling me to accept something. And by the time I got out of the store, I had 2 or 3 calls that I missed, but I never heard anything go off. So there's something, their app is just a little, it just ignores what is really going on. So if you're not getting connection and they think you have logged on, you're gonna have things sent to you regardless. And you're not going to get things coming to you that you are aware of through your phone, but you will be downgraded because of that. So again, I hope that was helpful. That's Uber versus GrubHub. They're very similar. The pay is just different. So would like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And I hope to be making another video really soon. Thanks.